I turn around to find him carrying this huge 40-pound rock, and he's about to throw it at my body.
That's how CJU's Uber ride ended Saturday night. He says he left his cell phone in an Uber driver's car earlier in the day, and when he realized it was missing, he contacted the driver, who agreed to bring him the phone for a cash reward. They met at Baja Cantina in Marina del Rey.
So I was ready to go home already, so I said, hey, you're already here. Why don't I just use you as my Uber? I'll just try to select you on the ride.
The driver took CJ home to Leimert Park, where they arrived just before 8 p.m. That's when CJ thanked him for returning his phone by giving him $40.
He instantly blew up. He became very aggravated and said, I need more money than this. Like, $40 is nothing. This phone is worth hundreds of dollars.
CJ told the driver that was all the cash he had and got out of the car.
I take about 15 steps, and I hear someone behind me. He's racing towards me until I turn around and he slows down.
You can see in the surveillance video CJ trying to defuse the situation, but the driver was still angry, so he suggested they go look for a police officer to work it out.
Before I knew it, he then grabs the phone from my hand, which he had just returned to me, and he runs the opposite direction back to his car. And I chase after him to his vehicle. At this point, he's already locked the doors. He's starting it up. I'm trying to pull open the handle, and then he speeds away with my hand still on the handle, leaving me with the handle of a Toyota Corolla in my hand.
That was the last he saw of him, but he saved a screenshot of the driver, Medhati Mashesha, from the Uber app. He says he's still in shock someone would threaten him and go this far over a cell phone.
Did that just really happen? Did an Uber driver who's registered with Uber, who passed security tests with these systems, did he just rob me of my iPhone? If you asked me how my Saturday was going to go, that was not the answer I would have given you.
Now, she thought taking an Uber car home would be much safer than the subway, but quickly learned she was wrong when she says her driver tried to sexually assault her.
My only fault that night was being female.
It should have been a normal ride home to Woodside, Queens for this woman, still too shaken to show her face on camera. The 31-year-old was working on the Lower East Side when she called Uber to pick her up just after 2 a.m. Thursday morning. She said she had fallen asleep in the back seat and woke up in front of her building to the driver touching her.
I feel his hand touch, kind of like caress my face to wake me up. And then he tells me, you look stressed. So he goes to the back seat, grabs me by the shoulders.
She says she fought back.
He continues to grab my face and lean in for a kiss, and I forcefully push him away, and luckily the door was unlocked, so I was able to grab my things and just run back to my house.
And says she's thankful she woke up when she did.
If I hadn't pushed him away, then I'm pretty certain he would have done more.
She's filed a report with the NYPD and says they're classifying the case as harassment. A spokesperson for Uber tells us this is a troubling report, and we have immediately suspended the driver as we investigate further. Uber tells us the driver is licensed by the New York Taxi and Limousine Commission and passed the TLC background check. But this victim tells us that's not enough and is calling for a stricter screening process.
You could have a clean record, but there's no way you could tell that this guy is going to take advantage of a woman.
And her warning tonight, so this doesn't happen to anyone else.
It's so easy to feel that you're okay in a car. So I think it's important to not let your guard down.
Good evening. We begin tonight with a violent attack on an Uber driver. The driver tried to get away but was chased down by the passengers, dragged, beaten, and left unconscious. Police have charged 2 people right now. They're looking for a third. The Uber driver picked up 2 men and a woman outside a downtown nightclub at Bank and Slater. Minutes later, the passengers started attacking the driver. He abandoned his car at the corner of Elgin Street and Lisgar, but it didn't stop there. CTV's Matt Scooby leads off our coverage from there tonight. Matt.
Well, Graham, it was just over 2 weeks ago on June 8th that the Uber driver was attacked here at the intersection of Elgin and Lisgar. Now, police say shortly after picking up passengers, those passengers became physically aggressive. The driver pulled over and then tried to flee the scene on foot, but he was chased down, beaten, and then left on the ground unconscious. Now, a man and a woman have both been arrested and are facing charges, but police are still searching for a third suspect. Here's a picture of the man that the police are looking for. He's described as a black male, about 6 feet tall and around 30 years old. He has a muscular build and long hair. Now, a 23-year-old woman and a 23-year-old man are both facing aggravated assault charges in relation to the incident, but because it was an Uber car and not a taxi, the police are facing more challenges with their investigation.
I'm a 5-foot girl that weighs 100 Caught on camera in a bizarre confrontation with an Uber driver. It happened in the heart of downtown Miami.
Can you call 911, please?
Ramkasoon thinks this is her driver. It isn't. He's waiting to pick up someone else. But still, she demands he drive her. After things get physical and she's pushed to the ground, she gets into the car and does this. Many of you chiming in right away online. Violetta writing, "This person should not be practicing medicine." Another saying, "I wouldn't go anywhere near the facility for medical care if she continues to work there." And another saying, "She should be arrested and charged with assault." But the driver, speaking to local station WTVJ, is not pressing charges.
She was erratic. She was like screaming, cursing, calling me names.
Ramkasoon now on administrative leave from the hospital while it conducts an internal investigation, and Uber has suspended her.
A man bludgeoned with a hammer allegedly wielded by an Uber driver more than 2 weeks ago, and today he was talking publicly for the first time about what happened. And KRON 4's Maureen Kelly was there as the victim described what he remembers.
It was something out of a movie. To just wake up and have doctors hovering over you was probably one of the scariest things I've ever experienced.
The attack on Roberto Chicas was so severe that he only remembers coming to after the ordeal. Here are pictures of what he looked like then. The other two passengers he was with allege that the attack happened after the UberX driver they were riding with was questioned about the route he was taking them home after a night out.
I mean, using Uber at the end of the night is supposed to be the responsible, safe thing to use when you're out with friends, to take an Uber home to get you home safely.
More than 2 weeks later, and Roberto's left eye is still swollen shut, and doctors aren't sure they'll be able to save it. The driver has pleaded not guilty to the charges he faces in connection with the assault and is out on bail.
Attack on an Uber driver has him reconsidering ever getting behind the wheel again. Police say a passenger smashed his window and beat him up. News Channel 5's Michelle Casada spoke to the Uber driver and is live along Military Trail where his fare took a violent turn. Michelle?
The driver, Jugnay Joseph, says this was his first ride of the day and it turned out to be his last. It was around 6 a.m. when he was dropping off two men at a business here off North Military Trail, just south of Belvedere Road, and the men told him to wait while they checked and see if the business was open. That's when Joseph says he realized Travis Gordon was drunk. One of the men, he says, he saw Gordon fall, and when he got up, he started attacking the driver and hitting him several times. Joseph says he was punched in the face and the back. He told me he was terrified and ran, but Gordon kept chasing him and then punched through his van window. He says luckily he was able to get his phone and call 911.
Imagine you give service to someone and then that person should just say thank you to you, and then for a thank you, it's a beat you up. So.
Now, Joseph says in those moments he thought about his family. He has a 22-day-old baby at home. This is the only job he has right now, but he doesn't think he'll be driving for Uber again.
Foreman last night attacked a taxi driver working for ride-hailing company Uber and torched his car in the latest incident of growing harassment against Uber drivers operating in Nairobi. Japheth Kome, Nairobi's police commander, said the men attacked the Uber driver late on Sunday and poured petrol on his vehicle before torching it. He said the driver was bitten but escaped without major injuries. Uber said it has offered its full support to the driver and is in contact with the authorities. Uber began operating in Kenya in early last year, making inroads into the Nairobi market by offering lower prices and cutting out haggling that often infuriates customers.
Taxi drivers in Mexico came out to protest against popular taxi service Uber on the 29th of July, accusing the company of stealing their business. The protests came just one day after various Uber vehicles were violently attacked by a group of armed men in Mexico City. Earlier this month, Mexico City became the first city in Latin America to regulate Uber, announcing rules that include a 1.5% ride levy, a yearly permit fee, and a minimum vehicle value. The move has angered taxi drivers, who say the local government has caved in to demands of the San Francisco-based company. On the 28th of July, various Uber vehicles operating near Mexico City's international airport were attacked. Those behind the attacks accused Uber of operating from taxi stands designated for traditional cabs, authorized by the government. No Uber drivers or passengers were reportedly hurt in the attacks. According to Uber, Mexico City is the largest city in the world to regulate ride-hailing apps and is one of its biggest markets. In the Mexican capital alone, there are some 10,000 drivers on the road and 500,000 registered users.
Vecinos y taxistas de la zona del Peñón de los Baños, cerca del Aeropuerto Internacional de la Ciudad de México, destrozaron este martes 5 vehículos que prestan servicios a través de la aplicación Uber. Los agresores dijeron que esos vehículos se estacionan en las calles principales del Peñón y dan servicio en la zona, con lo que se afecta a los taxis autorizados.
Siempre está formado este güey ahí en Sinaloa, güey. ¿Dónde, güey? A ver, déjame verle. ¿Quién es? Sinaloa, ese güey.
Uber driver Jose Marrero Martinez picked her up from a restaurant. During the ride, she said he tried to grope her. She said she pushed him away, and that's when he punched her in front of her 2-year-old son.
What the hell is going on?
How ridiculous is
that? Oh!
Oh my god! Someone get out, stop it. Jesus. But don't get hurt. Well, the passenger's gone out. Just walk out. How childish is that?
Oh no, he's lying on the floor.
Is he lying on the floor?
Yeah.
I can't see.
Oh, it's an
Uber versus Black Cab.
Edward Caban has been driving for Uber since July, but after last night's violent encounter, which was all caught on camera, he says he won't be picking up any more passengers.
Get out of my car or I will call the police.
Let me tell you something, you little
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm giving you
Pummeled in the head before pepper spraying his passenger. Caban says the attack Friday night came out of nowhere. He says the man identified by police as 32-year-old Benjamin Golden was drunk and that he became belligerent as he was taking him to his destination in Costa Mesa. As you can see in the video, Golden had trouble staying upright in the car. Caban says when the 32-year-old started to become aggressive, he told him he was canceling the ride and pulled into a shopping center to let him out. Just as Golden opened the door, he launched his sudden attack, beating Caban in the head. He was finally able to grab his pepper spray, which he keeps for safety, and spray Golden in the face.
Unfortunately, when the incident happened, it was at 8 o'clock at night, and I was just about to call it a night. I didn't think that something like this would happen this early in the night. I stopped driving, these 2 a.m. shifts a long time ago for this very reason.
Don't you know how dangerous that is? What are you doing?
He already on the road danger. He tried to prove it, this guy.